Hello everyone, welcome to Semi Homesteading with Abby. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video. If you're new here, welcome. Basically, this channel is documenting my adventure from being a suburban girl to a wannabe homesteader. I'm trying to learn all the homesteading skills, sourdough, gardening, preserving food, all of that. So that is what I am documenting with this channel. And I am like probably 8 videos in now. I'm kind of getting into my groove of how to edit these videos, what to film, all that kind of stuff. But I thought since there are some new faces here, it would be good to have a little introduction video on my channel. So I compiled a list of some good intro questions that I thought would help us get to know each other a little bit better. Some of them will be personal, and then I have a little section of homesteading. So for all you homesteaders out there who are interested in kind of what I envision as my future homestead or semi-homestead, if you will, that will be the section at the end. So we're going to do a few of the more personal, just get to know each other questions, and then we'll jump into the homesteading thing. So thank you so much for tuning into this video, and let's get into it. So let's get started with the more just personal chatty questions. I just compiled this list from like a get to know you tag from like old YouTube, but they had some solid questions. So first one is, where are you from? When someone asks where I'm from, I just say Colorado. I moved here when I was like 2, or I should say my parents moved here when I was 2. I was actually born in Seattle, but Colorado has kind of always been home because my earliest memories are here. So we go back and visit, but Colorado is definitely where I consider myself to be from. What do you do for a living? So I am a software engineer at a aerospace company here in Colorado. I originally went to school for aerospace engineering and I minored in computer science, but once I entered the workforce, I realized that there was a very, very large demand for actual software development and software engineering. And so I kind of took that path because it was in high demand. So I really like it. I really like my job, but eventually, honestly, I'd love to retire early and be a homesteader. Okay, I just mentioned college. The next question is, where did you go to college? I went to the University of Colorado, graduated in 2018, and like I said, I was an aerospace engineering major. The next one was, what did you study in college? Again, I already said what I did, but a fun fact about something I studied, and I think it tells you a little bit about my personality, because that's the whole point of this video, is basically I really like to do a variety of things. I don't usually love to just be doing one thing at one time. So I thought that, you know, while I was doing my aerospace engineering degree, my first minor that I declared actually was a Jewish studies minor. My family has had a long history with Israel. You know, some of my family members were married there. I was baptized there. I've been back since then. So I have always loved that history and culture. And also a few of my family members have done like Jewish studies. And so I decided, hey, I might as well, you know, I'm in college. I want to learn like interesting things that I'm interested in. I'm going to just declare a Jewish studies minor. Now, it was tough because none of the classes really lined up. Like when I ended up doing a software engineering minor, the classes could like double as part of my major courses and I could take less courses. Not the case with Jewish studies. Then I joined a class and I really hated the books that they were having us read, and so I ended up dropping that class. And long story short, I ended up dropping that minor, but I didn't actually go and officially drop the minor for 2 years or something, because it didn't matter. Like, there was no real consequence of that. You can change and add minors at any time. So for a long time, I was an aerospace engineering major with a Jewish studies minor. And I remember this one day, there was a day for prospective students, and they asked, you know, does anyone do minors that are outside the School of Engineering? And they said, yes, actually we have a student who's majoring in aerospace and minoring in Jewish studies, so you can really do it all. But I hadn't taken an actual class. So the next day I ended up going and actually taking the time to go to the office and dropping the Jewish studies minor. The next question is, are you single or married? I am married. We ended up getting married like right in the middle of like the first wave of COVID. So everything shut down in March. We got married in May, and it was months of figuring out backup plans and, you know, are we gonna be able to have it in this church or whatever. We ended up having it outside with just very close friends and family. So I actually think it ended up being perfect, and I should have planned it that way all along. It was like the best day. Tea or coffee? Both. Coffee in the morning, tea at night. Cats or dogs? Okay, I used to be allergic to both cats and dogs, but I had a series of allergy shots all throughout college. Like, I did it for probably 6 years, you know, before college and then all throughout college. It worked for cats. I am no longer allergic to cats, but it did not work for dogs, and I'm still sadly pretty allergic to dogs. So I want to get one, but it might have to be something like a doodle mix, a poodle, a Bichon, something like that. But dogs are also just a lot of work, and I like how self-sufficient cats are. If you watch my other videos, my cat Mick pretty much gets a cameo in every video that I do. So go watch those other videos and you will see my cute little cat. Okay, the next one is, what are your favorite hobbies? I have a lot of hobbies. One of them I consider to be YouTube, so welcome to my hobby. I also have a podcast where I figure out a topic that I don't know much about, I research it for a week, and then I kind of give a report about what I learned, and so that way we can all learn together. So if you want to check that out, it's called A Millennial Learns. I also cross stitch a lot. I am picking up golf. I just got a new set of clubs, so I'm so excited. And now homesteading. I'm trying to think of other ones. I think that's pretty much it. Next one is, what is my favorite book? Now, historically, I've always said that Great Expectations is my favorite book because when I was in school, like I think in middle school I had to, middle school or high school I had to read Great Expectations, and it was weird because all throughout reading the book I was like, this is just okay. And then at the end somehow I sat back with it and was like, I think that's the greatest book I've ever read. So I don't exactly know what happened. I need to reread it again. I've reread it a couple times. I also weirdly really liked Catcher in the Rye at one point, and that one I definitely need to reread because I'm not sure if I would still love it as much as I did, but that's on the table as well. What is the last book I read? The last book I read, I'm just finishing up, I have like 40 more pages left, is Little Women, and it is so good. I watched the movie, and that applies to the next question because the next question is, what's your favorite movie? This is on the list. The newest version of Little Women is perfect. It's like almost, I think, the perfect movie for me, and reading the book has just solidified how good the movie is because it is pretty accurate to the book in most respects. The changes that they made, I actually like what they did better than the book. So overall, the book, amazing. The movie, even better. Love it, and I highly recommend both. Next question is, what is your favorite movie? I cannot decide this. I don't usually love a ton of movies. I tend to find one that I like and just really want to watch like that specific set of movies just over and over again. So I'm just gonna say 3. First one, Little Women. It's like literally probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Second one is this movie called Ushpizin. It was this small movie about an Orthodox Jewish couple that are trying to have a baby. It doesn't sound that interesting when I summarize it like that, but it is a great movie. The other one is Children of Heaven, also a very small release movie. I used to go to this small movie theater called Chez Artistes with my grandparents, and it was these smaller, more artsy movies, and I ended up really, really liking that style. So Children of Heaven is another one of those, and it's about these kids in the Middle East that are very poverty stricken and they have to share this pair of shoes, and then he figures out that he can win new shoes for his sister if he wins this running race, and so he enters into this running race, and it's just an amazing movie. Another one, I said 3, but I just thought of another one that is literally my favorite ever, and it was also released in that same theater. It is Mad Hot Ballroom. It's a documentary that follows all of these kids in the New York public school system where there's a program that they get taught ballroom dancing, then at the end they compete, and it is all around perfection. I absolutely love that movie. So I guess I gave you 4. So go check those out. It's still impossible to narrow down a favorite movie. It's like a favorite song, you know? You kind of have to go by genre. There's no way to narrow it down. What is a place you most want to travel to? So we've been talking about this kind of extensively recently because now travel is kind of back on the table. And so I really, really want to go to Scotland. Both Scotland and Ireland are very, very high on my list. I've been to Ireland before, but it was such an amazing trip that I really need to go back. And Scotland seems similar, but different enough where I just really want to go. I researched all about the Scotland Highland Games. My husband has some Scottish background in him, so I really want to visit. The other place I want to go is Alaska and do an Alaskan cruise because I just hear such great things about these Alaskan cruises. My family is a Disney family, and so I will always want to go back to Disneyland. We have a trip scheduled this year to go. I can't wait, and I could go to Disney twice a year and probably just go there and be happy and never travel anywhere else in my life. Like Hawaii and Disney are really our two staple places. The next one is, do you play any instruments? I do, or I should say I kind of used to. So as a 5th grader, when you choose your instrument, I chose the flute. So I still know some flute scales, but haven't broken that out in a while. I also started playing piano when I was a kid, so I can definitely play some things, but I need to brush up. I actually have a piano in my front hallway, so I'm trying to get some more practice in every so often. And then when I was 18, I started playing the banjo, and I definitely know a couple songs still, but I am rusty on the banjo. But I think banjo and homesteading somehow in my mind just go together, so I may eventually do a video about trying to learn a new banjo song on this channel. So let me know if that is something you want to see, because I love the banjo, I love bluegrass music, and I think it would be fun to show you the process of actually learning a banjo song. Not that it would help in any practical way homesteading, but it's fun. What sports did you or do you play is the next one. So when I was a kid, I did Irish step dancing and Taekwondo. I started out doing Irish step dancing. My brother started out doing Taekwondo. Our parents made us swap for like a month and do both to just see what another sport was like, cross train a little bit. You know, one helps with flexibility, one helps with footwork. And we ended up both doing both for a very long time. So we were both like nationally competing Irish step dancers and both black belts in Taekwondo. At one point, I got sick of both of them and quit them, I think, around the same time. And I started taking up tennis. So I still play tennis. I played in a league last year. With all the moving of this year and all the chaos, I did not join a league. But I'm hoping to do that next year. I love playing tennis. And then, as I mentioned, I'm getting into golf. So love those sports that can continue into adulthood. It's been so fun to, you know, keep up my tennis and start golf. Okay, I'll leave it at that for the more personal get to know you section, and let's get into some homesteading ones. So the first one is, what is semi-homesteading? That is the name of my channel. I don't think it's like necessarily an established term. I just was like, well, I'm not going to be a full homesteader, but I want to lean more that direction. So I'm just going to call it semi-homesteading with Abby. So basically my definition of semi-homesteading is that I am not going to be a self-sufficient homesteader. I mean, I won't say never, because who knows, but the idea is that I probably most likely will not ever be a fully self-sufficient homesteader. I don't really have an interest in that. I do like some store-bought stuff. I do like some comforts of, you know, the modern world. So I'm probably not going to be like the Alaska, the Last Frontier people who are fully self-sufficient on a homestead. But I do love to learn new things. I want to be more self-sufficient. I want to live off the land more. I've always been obsessed with like Little House on the Prairie and being more in touch with the land and making my own butter and all of that kind of thing. So that is basically how I define semi-homesteading, is not being a full homesteader, but living more off the land and trying to learn as many homesteading skills as possible. The next question I put on here was, why did you want to start learning about homesteading? This goes back to a couple of things I've already mentioned. I've always loved Little House on the Prairie. I've loved how they went into the prairie, literally built their own cabin from their bare hands, were able to survive, hunt, get their own meat, get their own fruit, get their own vegetables. I've just always loved the idea since I was a little girl. However, I didn't think that much of it until I started watching Alaska, the Last Frontier, where they live in Alaska outside of, I think it's outside of Homer, Alaska, and they have fully functioning homesteads. Like, they raise their own meat birds, they raise their own livestock, their own cows, they butcher them for meat, they have a root cellar, they have a vegetable garden. all of these things. And this show follows these homesteaders, and that show really spurred me on to start learning about some of that for myself, because it looked just so rewarding, because you're doing everything kind of by hand. So that's really what spurred me on the last year or so to want to learn more of these skills. We also just moved to a house that is on 3 acres. So this is the first time that I've really had the opportunity to do that. So this is my opportunity and I'm running with it. The next one is, what made you want to start doing YouTube? I just love video editing. I love creating a story and telling a story through a video. It's just really, the process of making it is really fun. So I thought, why not document this and share it? I love watching YouTube. I watch people's vlogs all the time, but I watch these lifestyle vloggers that really, I don't relate to that much. They talk about, you know, makeup and clothes and fashion and things I'm not necessarily interested in, but I do enjoy following their lives and their personalities. And so I thought, you know, I'll just make the videos that I would like to see, which is, you know, following someone's life, but doing something that I'm more interested in. So that's why I'm here. And thank you all for watching. The next one is, what have been the biggest fails since starting this homesteading stuff? Now, I am very new, so there will be many, many more fails, but I've had a couple so far. My first fail was trying to make a sourdough starter. I was using the wrong type of flour. Not the wrong type of flour, but just not optimal. I switched from bread flour for my starter to this whole wheat flour, and that helps in the sourdough feeding so much. So ever since I've been doing that, my sourdough starter has been much better. And then the second one is, I actually made a video about it last week, is pressure canning. I really thought, you know, I could just learn pressure canning kind of quickly and on the fly within a couple days, and I was very naive and started looking at the book and realizing there's so much nuance and more things I need to research. And so I am going to be starting again with the pressure canning, like from square one, with an actual canning recipe, and just going very by the book before I start venturing off into my own canning adventures. Next one is, do you plan on having livestock? And eventually, like once we move out of this house, I would like livestock, but this house that we're in right now does have an HOA, which is sad. They do not allow any livestock, like any goats or pigs or anything like that. So no, in the traditional sense. There's an ongoing battle over the chickens right now, because they've allowed chickens, now they've taken away the chicken allowance to do some more research. So I'm really hoping that goes through, because I really want chickens more than anything. We can also have bees, and so I think we are gonna have a beehive at some point, hopefully next year. I think some of my other family members are planning to get cows or goats, so I will probably be able to learn about them and get my fill of livestock from them, but I will not be able to have them on my own land. Do you plan to have a garden, and what do you want to grow in it? Yes, I am trying to start setting up my garden this fall for the springtime. I would like to do a bunch of herbs, probably some flowers. I really want to try to harvest some wheat, because I want to make I want to make at least one loaf of bread from wheat that I've grown myself, harvested the wheat, ground the wheat into flour, and then made bread from that flour. That is like the dream. So I want to include some wheat in there, you know, just the standard vegetables, carrots, onions. I also am planning to get a vertical grower so I can grow lettuce and things all throughout the year. Would love to grow tomatoes throughout the year, so I am very excited to get that. And then last question is, how much land do you have? We are on about 3 acres right now. It backs up to some open space. Right now we're planning on doing a garden, a greenhouse, some bees, and hopefully some chickens. So that is all for my introduction / getting to know each other video. Thank you all so much for tuning in and your support. Make sure to like and subscribe. That is a little bit about me, but I would love to hear from you. Tell me about yourself in the comments. Thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye everyone.